Welcome to Kanugget, the children's podcast of bite-sized stories. Pippa and the Army of Frogs. One bright, breezy afternoon, Pippa the panda decided to take a walk along the edge of the swamp. It was a peaceful place with the air thick with the scent of wildflowers, but there was something lurking in the shadows that made Pippa's heart race. Frogs. She had always been terrified of them, those bulgy eyes and their bumpy skin and that ribbit sound that they made. Every time Pippa thought of them, she felt a shiver run down her spine. But today was different. Today, she was determined to conquer her fear. She was going to take a deep breath, put on her bravest face, and walk right through the swamp. After all, what was the worst that could happen? Pippa was strolling along, humming a little tune to calm her nerves, when she suddenly heard a splash. Eek! Pippa squeaked, jumping backwards. She froze in place. There, right in front of her, was an army of frogs. 10 in total, hopping around with military precision. They were organized in neat rows, and each frog wore a tiny leaf helmet. Pippa's heart skipped a beat. The frogs paused, as if they were waiting for her to make the first move. The silence was almost unbearable. Finally, one of the frogs, wearing a particularly large leaf, croaked. "Welcome, traveler. We are the army of frogs, mighty, fearless, and ready for adventure." Pippa stood frozen, her paws trembling. Hi? She stammered, trying her best to keep her voice steady. "I'm Pippa. You're an army?" The frogs gave a synchronized nod, causing their helmets to bob up and down. "Indeed." The frog with the big leaf said, "We are here to explore, jump, and conquer new places like this swamp." At first, Pippa was unsure. The frogs were jumping around, croaking excitedly, and their movements were so unpredictable. They hopped in every direction, each of them making the oddest ribbit noises. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the frogs, a tiny one with bright orange spots, approached Pippa. "Hello," it said with a cheerful smile. "I'm Flip. What's your name?" Pippa hesitated, her knees wobbly. I'm Pippa, but, I don't usually get along with frogs." "Oh no, we're not scary," Flip said, puffing out his chest. "We just like to jump and play, and we love to make new friends." He hopped up and down, causing a few nearby flowers to scatter. Pippa blinked, surprised by the frog's enthusiasm. Maybe they weren't so worrisome after all. With a deep breath, Pippa decided to give it a try. "Well, okay, what do you usually do for fun?" One by one, the frogs began to show off their favorite activities. Bubbles the frog showed off his amazing jumping skills, leaping into the air and spinning like a top. Jumpy did a silly hop and skip dance that made Pippa giggle. Splasher even did a funny cannonball into the swampy pond, splashing water everywhere. Soon, Pippa found herself laughing, her fear melting away with each silly leap. Okay, I have to admit," Pippa said, smiling, "you frogs are pretty awesome." "You're not so bad yourself, Pippa," Flip said with a grin. The frogs continued to show Pippa their tricks, and Pippa joined in cautiously at first. She tried hopping like the frogs, though she didn't quite make it as high, and even attempted a splash in the pond, which ended up with her sitting in the mud, much to everyone's amusement. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the swamp, Pippa sat down with her new froggy friends. "You know, Pippa said thoughtfully. I was really scared of you at first, but now I'm so glad I met you all. The frog with the big leaf, who was apparently the leader of the army, puffed up proudly. We're glad too, Pippa. We might be frogs, but we're just like you, adventurers ready to make new friends. Pippa smiled. You're right. I guess sometimes the scariest things turn out to be the most fun. The army of frogs nodded in agreement, and Pippa felt a warm sense of pride. She had faced her fear, and instead of running away, she had made 10 new friends. From that day forward, whenever Pippa passed by the swamp, she would always stop to visit the army of frogs, knowing that sometimes it's worth taking a leap of faith. That's all for today's episode of the Kanugget podcast, the children's podcast with bite-sized stories just for you. And hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a nugget-sized tale. Thanks for listening, friends. Until next time, keep your imaginations big and your hearts even bigger. Bye-bye.